Hi everybody, welcome back to Cartoon Commentary. Once again, I am joined by the gentleman from G.I. Joeberg. We've got Paul.
That's me. What's up?
And Robert.
Robert's right here and ready to go.
And Steven.
Greetings, everyone.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on the second episode of Cartoon Commentary. We're going to go right into episode 2 of the G.I. Joe Sunbow series. It's called Slaves of the Cobra Master. So everybody sync up your DVDs, get your blue dot right next to the word slaves, or get it ready on Dailymotion or YouTube or wherever you found it. And I'm going to give the countdown. Everyone ready?
Ready.
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1, go! Yeah, I'm really surprised how quickly we banged out that first commentary. I forgot how short these are.
Yeah, they're pretty
Well, like
quick.
you say, buddy, 23 minutes, perfect for any number of things.
So one of the hallmarks of a great classic cartoon, any show really, but especially the cartoons, is an intro that you can watch a million times and never get sick of.
Yeah. Da 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 dum da dum da dum da dum. Love it. Love it so much.
Paul's taking out the bass line.
Interesting that Cover Girl, little things you notice even if you've seen it a million times. Cover Girl is not in the Wolverine just a few seconds ago. It's just a random green shirt.
I got to double check that, but I think you're right. I think you are right. They just threw random people in there. Also, Cobra's defending G.I. Joe headquarters, not the other way around.
Yeah. Well, maybe they took it over and G.I. Joe's taking it back.
Ah.
Cobra
Yeah, it seems
Commander.
like Cobra has controlled some urban area, and G.I. Joe is kind of on the offense, kicking them out.
And we're going into a recap of the previous episode for the kids who got home too late from school and missed the last episode. I love this
Or had
voiceover.
detention.
I like the voiceover, this nasally voiceover narrator.
Oh, this guy, he's great.
Well, if you were watching this back in 1983, you would have been watching this on a Tuesday. The original miniseries ran from Monday to Friday from the 12th to the 16th of September in 83.
Mm-hmm. Later on, it was on every day after school here in North America. It was G.I. Joe and Transformers after school every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would have run home.
Listen to the music, which we didn't mention in the first commentary, but love the music, which is supposed to be coming out on DVD soon.
Oh, I hope so, because, yeah, the Sunbow series has such a great score. In fact, a lot of Sunbow series have great or sort of scores, orchestral music, backing tracks, what have you.
So great that they saw ample reuse, but at least in this miniseries, we're hearing it all for the first time. Kind of adds a veneer of polish that that will never be taken away from the Master Voice.
Gives it a class, like the saxophone. While everyone else was using synths, they were using saxophone on G.I. Joe.
Also, a great little relatable point here. Those controllers they're using are very similar to the Atari, I think it's 1600 or 2600.
2600.
Yeah, so it's a great way to get a relatability between viewer and what Cobra Commander and Destro are doing there. As in they playing a fighting game. The best fighting game ever.
Duke is a pretty strong cat. But it's the headband that's giving him
And that
super
guy
strength.
is
Right?
gigantic.
Yeah, I think
How big is that guy? Just like 10 feet tall?
I think it's the headband that's augmenting Duke's strength. It's like
Yeah, no,
super
he couldn't
soldier
handle
serum.
him on his own.
So that's, by the way, Robert J. Walsh was the composer of the G.I. Joe music and most of the Transformers music as well. So apparently they've been saying for years they'd be releasing it, but Sony put out a statement last year saying they'd release it hopefully soon. There's the Mass device, which you can own now thanks to the 25th anniversary of G.I. Joe line. There were pieces of it in different, was it 5 packs of figures?
DVD 3 and 4 packs. Yeah, I actually went out of my way to grab them myself because that Mass device is great.
That was always annoying as a kid, where you would have so many vehicles of both Joe and Cobra, but then there'd be something like the Mass device or the BET, and they just never made it.
Yeah.
They never made it. Like,
They never made any props. And also something to also notice here is the gun that the Cobra officer or Cobra trooper is carrying. I mean, that would be replaced on the carded versions with the Dragunov, or with a Dragunov lookalike. But I mean, that gun is what comes packaged with, it's similar to the one that's packaged with Zaymot and Tomax. Steve might jump in here and correct me, but I think I'm right this time.
Well, yeah, the Zaymot and Tomax 25th anniversary versions, sure.
Yes, and that's a gun that's
which is a nod to the cartoon. That's I think they molded that specifically because we never got in the vintage line that exact sculpt of gun.
Except, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
You know what's interesting? You mentioned during the first commentary that the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, all-American boy Duke has a German name, Konrad Hauser. And it's also interesting that a lot of the G.I. Joes from early on in the toy line came with World War II German weaponry.
Yeah. Thompson.
Case in point?
Oh, well, not the Thompson. Well, yeah.
A German gun, you say, Mike?
Well, some of them came with German weaponry, right? Like Stalker, I believe. Isn't that a German machine gun?
I think the grease gun is a Swedish gun, if not mistaken.
Swedish, okay.
Well, no. We're talking about the MP. What is it? The MP40, which is that German sort of cylindrical gun with a straight box magazine. It looks like that on the card arts. Oh,
it looks like
let me not get this wrong.
It looks like that gum that Leatherneck eats in a later episode, or tells people not to eat.
Getting back to the gun issue, though, I think the 25th anniversary Stalker came with that German Second World War submachine gun.
Yeah,
but the original Stalker came with also a German weapon, the Heckler & Co. or Heckler & Koch.
Koch.
Koch, if you wish. It was a sort of an early version of an MP5.
Yeah. So, again, no gloves here when probably should be wearing gloves. Snowjob, the Arctic trooper, the guy who's like who's in his element when he's in the cold, is talking about how cold it is, and here's Scarlet not wearing gloves.
But looking chic.
Maybe she's wearing flesh-colored gloves. At least they're wearing jackets. That's the one thing I appreciated about G.I. Joe. If they were in the Arctic, Duke would be wearing a coat, or like Scarlet is wearing the parka and coat. I believe Storm Shadow doesn't really adhere to that.
Yeah, but that's Storm Shadow. And Quick Kick is just in a situation where he's shooting a commercial. So
I remember that episode. It was ridiculous. This guy's shirtless.
These polar battle bears are so great to see them used because they are often underutilized in the show, and they are such a great vehicle.
Yeah, they were done away with pretty much after the introduction of the Snowcat, which, as a Canadian guy, that was one of my favorite toys growing up. That was one of my fondest memories from childhood, playing with a Snowcat in the snow, where you can actually use the windshield wiper to wipe snow and ice off your windshield for real.
A feature we have never been able to enjoy.
Yep, sadly. Us African boys used to put white sheets down in the living room to simulate a frozen tundra.
Looks like Tripwire is this is one of his rare appearances in the show, isn't it?
Correct. Both Tripwire and Stalker will slowly fade into the void of remembrance.
Too bad about Stalker. He really should have been one of the... I always imagine him as Duke's second in command before Flint came in.
Same here.
The Ranger.
Now, this is funny because it changes from citizens of the world to citizens of the planet, I believe is the line.
Well, in the previous episode, Cobra Commander was talking about ruling the universe.
So, right?
Cybertron included.
Level of overstatement going on.
Watch out, Megatron. Next, we attack Cybertron. Unicron, you're next.
That's not earring-sized anymore.
Oh, yeah, no. They come in all shapes and sizes.
This is a much different performance as Cobra Commander by Chris Latta than later seasons. He's much less goofy here, more threatening.
Which is something that he has in this miniseries. He is threatening.
Yeah, he turns into a Three Stooges character later on, which I love. Both are great. It's just interesting it's a pretty big difference.
It's definitely night and day. Also, Chris Lotta's performance changes quite a bit as well, as you mentioned before, with the lack of sibilances moving on in the show.
Yeah, the actual pronunciation.
They probably wanted to make it a little less scary.
He throws in the extra little because the word didn't have an S in it, so
He just shoehorns it.
Well, it does add credence to the fact that he's a citizen of Cobra law. Oh dear, somebody had to invoke the unspeakable. But you know, if he is a snake man, of course he's
That look on Destro's face in that crosscut when Cobra Commander walks away, he just has that look in his eyes like, that ass. And I'm like, see, there it is again, that ass.
You know, it's interesting that even though a lot of people don't like the Cobra Law idea, it's not completely discredited in these first few episodes. I mean, if anything, these first few support the Cobra Law origin more than anything, with him hissing like that. Makes him seem like he's a snake person under there.
Yeah, it definitely gives him an alien quality. Snake armor. I know Steven wants to say something about snake armor.
And look at this. Snowjob pulls the hood down and takes the goggles off. So they weren't afraid to change up the character design. On the show, it wasn't just, nope, he has to look like his figure looks.
What was that? Was that Flash?
That was
a flamethrower?
I think it's it looks like a flamethrower, but it might be some kind of laser flame. Because, like, how else would you melt metal like that? So I always pictured it as laser flame. Just like they were shooting laser guns that sounded like
Interesting.
bullets.
The animators varied the snake designs a little bit. Sometimes they look a little bit more dumpy than they already do. But, I mean, it's a pretty dumpy-looking toy to begin with. I do adore it, though.
Sounds like
it holds a place of one. I mean, there's nothing else like it before, and there's been nothing else like it since.
Well, yeah, nothing comparable.
Are they trying to crush them with like a big weight? It's weird.
It's a lot of effort.
Giant weight. To shoot them.
And then he's like, "Oh poop! Well, I've gone halfway. Might as well finish the job," because he could have just stopped. You know.
The voice actor for Snowjob sounds familiar to me, and I just Googled it. It's Rob Paulson, who Tick fans will remember as Arthur from The Tick. Tons of other cartoons,
Great show.
Yeah.
I saw a car drive past me on the freeway, and in the window it was written Spoon. I just thought to myself, is this a Tick fan? Is it possible?
I think this is the next evolution in video games, what they're doing right here, where actual people, kind of like movie a few years ago, Gamer. There was a movie Gamer with Gerard Butler. I think that might be where we're headed, where people, it's just won't be enough to control digital characters, so we'll be controlling real live people.
Yeah,
I think once you go through the VR kind of evolution, you will need real stuff eventually. Yeah. Maybe.
Gotta put in the gum.
It's supposed to go in your mouth.
Double mint. I think this is where the wedge begins to be driven. Destro and Cobra Commander. What a scream.
Oh, it always starts out like that, man. Hey, buddy, let's play some Double Dragon 2. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Why do you keep punching me, man? Why do you keep taking all the power-ups? Yeah, that's what happens. You know,
it's very difficult not to hit your partner in that game.
Yeah, that is true. That's why you play mode A and not mode B.
So it's great that Duke gets out of here all by himself. I like that he's not rescued yet at this point. They can't let this guy seem like a complete nitwit that, you know, needs help to get out of the situation.
The friendly snake security. I love it.
Spider-Man
Duke.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Spider Duke.
Friendly snake security. hello. It's just so cute.
And I like
They
the fact that
definitely
Duke is basically, you know, on the same level, maybe almost as Snake Eyes. He can do amazing physical feats too. He's not just a pencil pusher.
Oh yeah. Did you see that forward tuck he did in the previous episode, dodging gunfire by doing a little bit of tumbling?
Yeah, and he doesn't come off to me as a young character, like in some of the other iterations of G.I. Joe, like Renegades. I liked Renegades, but Duke seems very young in that, and then Channing Tatum in the live-action movies. I like that Duke here seems like a 40-year-old. He's got quite a lot of experience.
Yeah,
I get that feeling as well. He knows what he's doing. He has experience.
I like her. I don't know what happens. I can't remember what happens to her, but I enjoy her as a
it's
as a
Zorana.
MacGuffin.
It's actually Zorana.
It has to be.
That's great.
Retcon.
I buy that.
It's also cool to see Cobra Commander actually doing some of the shooting. You know, actually pursuing Duke himself, not standing in the back shouting orders.
Yeah.
Guys, I think we've just seen the entire Cobra toy lineup for 1983 as of this moment. Now we've got the Viper gliders.
Oh, yeah.
So we've seen the snakes. We've seen Cobra troopers, obviously. Ostensibly, we've seen officers, maybe. We've seen Fangs. We've seen his tanks, Destro and Major Blood, and obviously Cobra Commander. So, bam, tick, tick, tick.
And that doesn't seem like a toy commercial to me. It's a
Precisely.
good choice for that scene in particular. I want to see, you know, instead of the noise of jet engines and machine guns firing at Duke, I like the idea of him getting out of there in a quiet, silent vehicle.
And as you said in the previous commentary, you're not being hit over the head with the toy commercial.
Mm-hmm.
It's very germane to the scene. Snake Eyes was wearing gloves.
It
You
looked
should
like
be happy
it.
to note, hey Mike?
They weren't black, though.
Radiation's
Kind
a
of
thing.
ruins his look. He needs the full black look.
I assume the rest of his outfit was radioactive resistant.
I hope so.
I mean, in the old days, if your skin was covered, you're golden, right?
Yeah,
Biohazard
exactly.
suit was basically cloth, cotton, nylon.
I mean, if you had something covering your face, or if the figure had something covering its face, it could clearly breathe underwater as well.
Yeah.
Or had a helmet. Yeah.
We'll get into that in one of the future episodes of this series, Snake Eyes being cured of radiation poisoning. It's one of the goofier parts of the show. So they are being forced to leave a man behind. They're going against the Sergeant Slaughter rule of we all go home or nobody goes home.
Yeah, or to be fair, they're securing their escape. They get a check on Snake Eyes. He's not replying, obvious reasons.
He's at a loss for words.
I love Snake Eyes having a handgun. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he left them no choice.
Oh, here comes the Spock moment. Scarlett's she's upset, but she's faking it because she's like,
There's the Hauser finger. Hauser finger.
yeah.
Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few,
Total Wrath of Khan moment right there.
or the one.
Oh, gosh.
Awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
And I love how he just walks back into the smoke, accepting his fate, hoping that someone will be able to cure him of his radiation poisoning.
So the triangle, the love triangle seems to be established as early on as the second G.I. Joe cartoon.
And then never mentioned again?
Yeah.
Well,
quickly
we
disposed
got
of.
we got thrown in our faces in...
That's one important.
It's nice animation here. We haven't talked much about the animation, and I like these gliding scenes here. Nice cinematography, movement, action.
Yeah, excellent match
Especially
shots.
if you think I mean, animating a moving object like that and changing the angles is probably very difficult.
I love that he falls right into a his tank and immediately knows how to drive it.
No, Rob's very right. I mean, to take something like that and then just go, take it for a full line from A to B with all of those angle changes is extremely difficult.
Yeah, and the other big competitor from that time period was Filmation with He-Man and She-Ra, later on Brave Star. And those episodes, those shows are beautiful themselves, But this was Sunbow was a very different style, very dynamic, and smooth.
Very anime-esque.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they got it all, a lot of it animated overseas.
Mm-hmm. But
Did
not.
anyone else catch sight of what looked like a moccasin done up
Yeah.
in
Yes.
a light grey with a black underside?
Yep, I spotted that too.
Beautiful. I do like these commentaries. They force me to watch things a little bit more closely.
Now, I was watching those Cobra Troopers' heads, and it didn't look like they were wearing those mind control headbands under their helmets. It might have been a little higher up, but or maybe they're wearing them somewhere else, around something else.
I'm still sticking with the explanation that they're motivated by greed, man.
Yeah,
Pyramid of Darkness.
Money is
Pyramid
a
scheme
powerful thing.
that's right. There's Doc.
Hey, it's yeah.
He's gonna be okay.
Thank you, Rob. And Cover Girl,
Oh,
who's
yeah.
blonde.
Should be a blonde. With a
Yes.
name like Covergirl,
Well, just to
she should be blonde and Swedish.
differentiate her from Scarlet. Yeah, the toy also should have been blonde, but they made the right call, I think, in the cartoon.
Agreed. And also something for the listeners. I still cannot figure out how Scarlet ties her hair back. And it's something viewers should have a look at as you're watching the show, but you'll see there's no hairband whatsoever, ever. So something to ponder. Oh,
Glue.
must be. Like,
It's not like she'll ever need to let it down.
She uses hair to tie her hair.
back. Which is
Seamless.
totally cool, but they just don't draw that in.
Uh-oh.
That one guy looks so derp.
That might be like a great diet fad. Like some of those guys are sweating wearing those things. You know, just pop one of those on and sit and lose 50 pounds.
They're wheeling Duke around. I mean, they could just put him in an infirmary and get a comlink, you know.
So the badge on Duke's shirt there, it's a parachute. So he's some sort of an airborne...
Yeah, he's airborne. I think he's an airborne ranger.
Airborne ranger.
I think. Yeah. Or yeah.
So he knows how to pilot a Sky Striker pretty well then, too.
I think they always had that in mind. I think that was why they made him that way, because I think a lot of the ideas for the cartoon was set up in the character design. I would like to believe that Duke was a character that was conceived for the cartoon.
It's interesting because Flint is also a flyboy, right? A helicopter pilot, and Hawk is named Hawk. So all of the leaders are some sort of airborne theme. That's another
Now
episode.
we get previews. Yeah. And now we're getting like some previews of War of the Worlds meets Cobra.
We get to showcase some of the underwater toys.
We've exhausted all of the actual toys
These
by now.
creeped me out
Gotta
when I was
stop
a
making
kid.
one up.
These worms.
Yeah,
Don't they have some freaky sound effect as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sort of whatever they do, it's frightening.
Well, that was episode 2, and that one breezed by as well. I'm really enjoying how quickly these are going by. Paul, closing thoughts.
Okay, well, it's something I wanted to mention in the last episode, and it is a real issue now. They should have made that Cobra Temple, or as I like to call it, the Silent Castle, as a playset. That is the biggest missed opportunity so far for me. So watching this series has got me hankering to maybe try and make one. I'm also loving a lot of the... you mentioned it a little bit before, but a lot of the cinematography, the angles and all of that. I'm really loving how dynamic it is, and it's great because this cartoon is a very dynamic cartoon with it when it comes to shots and locations, and it's a great inspiration for me as I am, you know, as it's fueling a lot of my creativity as I see some of the backgrounds and the computer terminals and the actual mass device itself. I can't say anything bad about this episode because once again it's also ticking all my boxes. It's showing me toys that I like. It's giving me great set pieces, and it's giving Snake Eyes a great moment in the spotlight. Something I don't think he ever gets again, which is cool. Okay, I take that back. It puts Snake Eyes in the spotlight in a good way, not in a breakdancing, doing the can way, which I really like. I would imagine Cobra Commander's whole plot when it comes to holding all those delegates, those very important people, when he puts it out that that people should come to him so that he can let them go, or like so that he can release them. And it just makes me think of our current international political situation, where would we as people really beg Cobra Commander to let go of a lot of our leaders? You know, it's an interesting thing. Just looking at it now, I couldn't help but think, oh, okay, well, he's got a whole bunch of politicians and he wants us to beg him to give them back to us.
Good riddance.
Yeah. Yeah, take that, politics. So yeah,
Robert, closing thoughts.
This was a cool episode. I like that entire sequence with Duke escaping from the silent castle. Yes, the animation is brilliant. And Cobra just keeps building on their plan. You know, they keep abducting people and bringing these foreign military forces into their base. It's very interesting that they don't, when they get there, they start attacking Cobra. They're just like, we give up. You can take us.
And Steven, closing thoughts?
I think my high point in this episode was the sacrifice of Snake Eyes. Already we're seeing more character developments and moments, important character moments, given over to this silent, faceless character than he would get in the entire Sunbow cartoon run. And Scarlett's reaction to that is equally moving. I mean, it's not just losing a comrade in arms. Her tears kind of speak to more of a relationship that we are never going to get any other evidence of in the rest of the cartoon run.
Yeah.
Spoilers. But it's quite an evocative moment, and I think you can read it a number of different ways. Certainly when you use the lens of what you get in the comic books and you know, all the G.I. Joe media that has come out since then. But if you dial back the clocks to 1983, what the hell's going on there? Like, it's open to speculation.
Yeah, it's quite unique to have an implied love triangle, because it's usually supposed to be the boy and the girl. That, you know, Duke and Scarlett obviously have something, but to imply a love triangle, especially with one of them being a faceless mute, is quite an interesting concept. For me, this episode, the highlight of it was putting Snake Eyes in the element that he works best in, all by himself. I don't think he really works when he's in a team environment. He helps with the team activities, the missions that they do, but he's really in his element when he's alone, working alone, and that's what he's doing in this episode. And then he's forced to really go it alone, with no backup and no help, and he comes across as a self-sacrificing person. He doesn't give his teammates a choice. They have to leave him, and also for the next episode, it further establishes the legend of Snake Eyes, that he'll be just fine on his own, even if he is dying of radiation poisoning.
You said it, man. He's best on his own, because, let's face it, playing with your Snake Eyes action figure in a team environment gets really awkward. How the hell does he communicate with the rest of the guys? Yeah, and hand signals, pointing, demonstrating.
So that was episode 2 of the G.I. Joe Sunbow animated series. Again, guys, thanks a lot for joining me. It's a heck of a lot more fun than me just sitting here by myself and saying, look at that, look at that. Hey, I had that. I had that guy. I never had that guy, but I have him now.
You mean you've put out episodes where it's just been you, Mike?
No, I haven't.
Dig that up.
I haven't, but if I ever do, it'll probably be something for, you know, something really long and tedious, like a Kubrick film. Like probably 2001 is something I would do it for. But for something fun like G.I. Joe, it's all about enjoying it with other people who get it, who still enjoy it. That's what I love about G.I. Joeberg, and I'm going to give you guys a little plug right now for people who don't know about G.I. Joeberg. Check them out on YouTube. They got some awesome reviews there. I love how you guys take the toys outside, which I've forgotten about that. But when I was a kid, that's where the most fun place was to play with G.I. Joes, to take them outside, on the dirt, in the snow, on the water, taking that shark in the river. So I love that you guys shoot your reviews outside. when you guys shoot those reviews of the toys outside, just how apprehensive are you about taking these vintage toys out into the sunlight and the dirt?
I'm gonna quickly jump in because before Steve gets to answer, but Steve does a lot of the, or should I say, he does like 99.99% of all of the photography for the reviews. Actually, it's 100% here, folks. But I'm the one who's apprehensive about my toys going outside sometimes. And he took my mean dog when we did the mean dog review, and he sends me this picture of the mean dog by this fire that's on the side of the road.
No.
He just conveniently saw a fire on the side of the road and decided, hey, that's some great, that'll be great footage. And he was smart because he doesn't tell me, he just sends me the photo, and I'm like, oh my god, really, Steve, really?
Well, you're apprehensive about your mean dog. Me, I was apprehensive about pulling off onto the side of the road in the middle of Johannesburg, which is probably crime central in Africa. I mean,
it's a smart move.
It is a scary place to be on this continent after dark, especially if there's a roadside forest fire happening. But I tell you, the most apprehensive I get shooting these reviews is not for the toys themselves, because I typically like to buy very much less than mint specimens, because I like to play with my toys. So the more beat they are, the more encouraging they are for me to play with. But I do get apprehensive about taking my iPhone into these environments. I don't shoot on some fancy dedicated camera. I use my mobile, and having it on a tripod in a running stream, trying to get the perfect shot of hit and run.
God.
It's hair raising sometimes. All it takes is one little tip and sploosh.
Yeah, one of my favorites had to be because I had done voice for the Cobra Bug review, and I'd handed over my Cobra Bug to Steve. So I had done all my scripting and whatever. So I only actually got to see the final product when it gets put up on YouTube, which is often the case because it's kind of like a nice little surprise because Stephen will do the final editing more often than not. Or actually, yeah, I think Stephen's only ever done the editing with the exception of Rob here and there every now and then, and myself sort of. But anyway, and I'm watching this Cobra Bug review, and I'm sitting back, and I'm just like, okay, I'm making sure I don't sound like a complete tool, and I'm listening to everything, I'm hearing everything mixed, and I'm like, okay, this is great, and it's like, oh, it pops out of the river. I'm like, Steve put my bug in the river. Thanks, Steve. But I'm like, it's a great
where
shot.
Where else is a Cobra Bug supposed to go? Come on,
exactly.
Paul.
No,
Jeez.
exactly. No.
Amphibious. Hello.
Yeah, I know, and I'm
you should
totally...
put your USS flag in the pool.
I would if I could get it out the door.
but that was great because I saw that and I had that reaction, and I'm sure a lot of collectors, specifically collectors, see that and go, they put that thing in the water, kind of thing, and I love that because that is the video. Like if I ever want to tell a friend of mine about G.I. Joe Bug as a YouTube entity or as a YouTube product, so to speak, I always show them the bug review because it's got some of the, for me, it's got some of my favorite moments in our reviews.
Well, I like that because, I've gotten away from that myself. I like things minty and pristine. And I've forgotten how much fun, particularly G.I. Joe, was to play in the elements. And I'm inspired to take my shark down to the river when it warms up, or if we get another big snowfall here. There's a big field near where I live, and I am going to take my my snowcat and my wolf and snowjob and the crew, Iceberg, out there and shoot a review in the element it should be in. It's like we talked about, Snake Eyes is in his natural element when he's alone, while the snowcat is in its element, not on a blank backdrop, on a spinning, turntable.
Lazy Susan.
Yeah,
Lazy Susan.
It's supposed to be in the snow, in the ice. So even though I like my stuff nice and clean and white, just to get the review done, I'll put a shark in a river. I can rinse it off after. It's not a big deal.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you don't lose any small parts, brother. Yeah. I always do a quick tally, like every couple of minutes. Do I have the machine gun? Do I have the grapple hook? Do I have the missile?
I'm dreading our Condor review, is all I'm saying.
Don't throw it off a building.
Take a walk on the wild
fly.
side, Paulie.
These things don't actually fly. I'm a bit apprehensive. I'm going to do it, but I'm a little apprehensive about doing my killer whale review in the river.
The tail fins.
It floats, but
so many pieces.
That's going to be a little. I love a challenge, is all I'm saying. And anything that gets lost, you can get it on eBay again.
True that. And finally, I think one of the key reasons why I do go outdoors is because I'm pretty conceited about the place I live in. It really does have everything, and I'm pretty sure Wild Canada has got a lot to boast as well. You guys get snowfall even. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
You can't fight that.
Yeah, in your videos, such beautiful backdrops, the mountains, the gorgeous sunsets. It really is. This stuff has never been photographed so prettily, not even in the original commercials by Hasbro. So
you can't screw up a sunset, man.
That's right.
It just makes everything look good.
Absolutely. And in the films that I've made, doesn't matter if your budget is non-existent. It doesn't matter if you have a cheap camera. It doesn't matter if your actors are students working for free. You shoot during magic hour, during sunrise or sunset. That is $1 million lighting right there. So that's what makes all the difference right there. It's just you got to drag your butt out there early in the morning, or you have to time it out and make sure you're there when the sun is setting. But if you get that natural lighting, it really doesn't matter what you're working with. It's going to look at least halfway decent. In addition to G.I. Joeberg on YouTube, you've also got a podcast, a very regular podcast. Whereabouts is that? That's on Podbean, right?
Podbean is our host, but you can find us on iTunes.
iTunes.
Yeah, if you just search G.I. Joe, we should pop up. Or G.I. Joeberg, that's G-I-J-O-B-U-R-G.
So you're definitely going to want to check that out too. Makes the day go by. Very entertaining podcast to listen to, either at work or on the way to work or at home, just if you're chilling. Very interesting. What kind of stuff do you talk about on the podcast?
We keep it varied, sort of topic of the week kind of stuff. Sometimes it'll be the cartoons, sometimes it'll be the comic books. Most often we are just talking toys, and it's very nostalgia driven. I always wanted it to be a forum where I could talk about how I used to play with G.I. Joe and contrast that with how our listeners used to play with G.I. Joe. We've gotten some great feedback in that regard. People love to just bathe themselves in nostalgia. Whether it's ours or theirs, we all share this in common. In spite of the fact that we live oceans and continents apart, G.I. Joe was our go-to thing. It was our thing.
Yeah,
some kids put sports above everything else, or video games. We liked to go on our own adventures with our action figures. And that kind of unifying factors, it's very heartwarming.
And talking about...
We're a global community now.
Talking about being in your element, being in your proper element. I remember being, as a kid, if another kid had a G.I. Joe, you were friends. And that's all it took. It was just, oh, you've got Duke, I've got Roadblock. You've got a Sky Striker, I've got a Rattler. And you could play with that person for hours. So for me personally, stuff like G.I. Joe, Transformers, these great 80s properties, yes, I can enjoy them on my own, but really I'm in my element when I'm enjoying them with other people like you guys. So that's what's great about doing this podcast, and also that's what's great about not just hanging out, but making it public. So it's really cool that we're able to record this, put it out in public, and invite everybody else who grew up on this stuff and, played together to join the discussion, and not just listen along, but comment and, either on the YouTube video or on the podcast, comment, join the discussion and play along.
Well, thanks for having us on your show, Mike.
Yeah, thanks a lot for joining me, and looking forward to more. These are just breezing by. We'll be done by lunch tomorrow. All right, guys. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. And until next time, Nerdmas Day.